Child labor. Child labor remains a persistent challenge in India, especially in informal sectors such as agriculture, small workshops, street vending, and domestic work. While the Constitution and multiple laws prohibit hazardous work for children and protect the right to education, economic hardship often pushes families to rely on a child's income. In many cases, children work not by choice but because the household needs daily cash for food, rent, or debt repayment. India has introduced legal frameworks like the Child and Adolescent Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act, along with programs that promote school enrollment and midday meals. These measures aim to keep children in classrooms and reduce the incentive to send them to work. Yet enforcement can be uneven, particularly where employment is hidden inside homes or small units that are difficult to monitor. Child labor has long-term costs. It interrupts schooling, limits skills development, and traps families in a cycle of low-wage work. It also increases exposure to exploitation, unsafe conditions, and health problems. Therefore, many experts argue that the solution must combine strict law enforcement with social protection, such as income support, access to public services, and better employment opportunities from adults. Civil society organizations and local administrations often work together to identify at-risk children, return them to school, and provide bridge courses. Over time, reducing child labor requires not only penalties for violators but also a credible pathway for poor families to survive without sacrificing a child's future.
Caste discrimination remains a sensitive and complex issue in India. The Constitution guarantees equality before the law and explicitly prohibits untouchability, while several laws aim to prevent discrimination and violence against scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. In official terms, affirmative action, often called reservation, seeks to correct historical injustice by providing quotas in education, public employment, and political representation. Even so, caste continues to shape social life in many ways. In some areas, it affects housing choices, access to water sources, marriage networks, and everyday interactions. Discrimination is not always overt. It can appear as subtle exclusion, bias in hiring, or unequal treatment in schools. At the same time, many Indians argue that caste identities are changing, especially in urban settings where people mix more freely and where economic status can matter as much as social background. Public debate often focuses on two questions: how to enforce anti-discrimination rules effectively and how to design social policy that promotes dignity and equal opportunity without creating new resentment. Courts, commissions, and local authorities play key roles in monitoring violations, but trust in institutions is uneven. Many reformers stress that lasting change requires both legal protection and social transformation. Education, inclusive workplaces, and civic awareness campaigns can reduce prejudice over time. Ultimately, addressing caste discrimination is not only about compliance with the law, it is about ensuring that every citizen can participate fully in public life without fear, humiliation, or exclusion.
Religious tensions. Religious tensions in India are often discussed in terms of headlines, but on the ground they can be subtle and local. India is a secular republic with deep religious diversity: Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Sikh, Buddhist, Jain, and many other communities. In most places, people share streets, markets, and festivals, and everyday cooperation is normal. Yet tensions can rise when politics, rumors, or local disputes turn identity into a dividing line. Sometimes the trigger is small: a social media post, a provocative slogan, or a clash during a procession. In mixed neighborhoods, fear spreads quickly if people assume the worst about the other side. Local policing and district administration can play a stabilizing role by enforcing curfews, controlling crowds, and facilitating peace meetings. Community leaders, including religious heads and resident associations, often work behind the scenes to calm tempers. At the policy level, India has laws against hate speech and provisions to maintain public order, but implementation matters. The media environment also shapes perceptions. Sensational coverage can inflame anger, while responsible reporting can reduce panic. Education, interfaith dialogue, and shared public spaces help build trust over time. For many Indians, the challenge is to protect both freedom of religion and social harmony. The most effective solutions are usually local and practical. Early conflict resolution, clear communication, and strong civic ties. When communities invest in trust, they make it harder for divisive narratives to take root.
Freedom of expression. Freedom of expression in India is protected by the Constitution, and it is central to a lively democracy. You can see it in daily life. Sharp political debates on TV, satirical cartoons, student discussions, and millions of opinions on social media. At the same time, the freedom is not absolute. Indian law allows reasonable restrictions in the interest of public order, security of the state, decency, and other concerns. In practice, the difficult question is where criticism ends and harm begins. This becomes complicated because India is intensely diverse. A comment that seems like fair criticism to one group may feel like an insult to another. During elections, inflammatory speeches and misinformation can spread fast, especially through WhatsApp forwards and short video clips. Authorities may respond with content takedown requests, temporary internet shutdowns in sensitive areas, or legal action under different statutes. The media ecosystem also matters. Independent journalism can hold power accountable, but economic pressure, political polarization, and online harassment can chill speech. For many writers, comedians, and activists, the risk is not only censorship by the state, but also intimidation by mobs or coordinated trolling. Ultimately, freedom of expression works best when institutions are credible and citizens practice restraint without fear. Many Indians support strong speech protections but also expect responsibility, verifying facts, avoiding hate, and respecting the dignity of others. The challenge is to defend open debate while preventing violence, and that balance is negotiated every day.
Corruption in public services. Corruption in public services is a topic that many Indians discuss openly because it touches everyday life. It can appear in small ways: an unofficial fee to speed up a document, a middleman who promises to manage an application, or a tender process that feels biased. Even when the amount is not huge, the damage is serious. It erodes trust, wastes time, and hits poor households the hardest. Over the years, India has tried multiple responses. Digital governance has reduced face-to-face discretion in many services. When you apply online, track a file number, and receive status updates, there is less space for someone to demand cash under the table. Direct benefit transfer linked to bank accounts has also helped limit leakages in welfare delivery. At the same time, corruption adapts. It can shift from petty bribery to more complex networks, kickbacks in procurement, inflated invoices, or political influence over postings and contracts. Citizens also push back. The Right to Information framework has empowered people to ask for records and timelines. Social media can expose wrongdoing quickly, though it can also trigger misinformation. Ultimately, reform needs both systems and culture: clear rules, transparent data, independent audits, and protection for whistleblowers. For ordinary people, the practical goal is simple: public services that work by rule, not by favor.
Environmental degradation. Environmental degradation in India is not just an abstract problem. It is something many people feel in their daily routine. You may see it in shrinking green cover, polluted rivers, and air that turns hazardous during winter in northern cities. It also shows up in soil exhaustion in farm belts, plastic waste in drains, and the loss of wetlands that once absorbed floods. The causes are layered. Rapid urbanization and construction put pressure on land and water. Industry and transport add emissions, while coal remains a major source of power. agriculture faces its own stress. Groundwater is overused in several regions and chemical inputs can damage soil health over time. Climate change then acts like a multiplier, making heat waves harsher and rainfall more erratic. There are, however, signs of response. Courts and regulatory bodies sometimes intervene, and state governments run programs for river cleanup, solid waste management, and afforestation. In many cities, citizen groups organize lake restoration, waste segregation, and campaigns against single-use plastics. Still, enforcement is uneven, and policies can look strong on paper but weak on the ground. A realistic way forward combines growth with accountability, better monitoring, transparent data, cleaner public transport, and incentives for renewables. For ordinary citizens, small habits matter too. Saving water, sorting waste, and choosing less polluting options when possible. Environmental protection becomes credible only when it is built into everyday governance, not treated as a special project.
Climate inequality. Climate inequality means that the people who contribute the least to climate change often suffer the most from its impacts. In India, this gap can be seen clearly. A professional in an air-conditioned office may experience a heat wave as discomfort, while a construction worker, a street vendor, or a farm laborer faces direct health risks and lost income. When temperatures rise, the ability to adapt depends on money, housing, and access to basic services. The same pattern appears with floods and droughts. Families living in informal settlements, near drains or low-lying areas are more exposed to waterlogging and disease outbreaks. Rural households that depend on rainfall can lose crops when monsoons arrive late or turn unusually intense. Meanwhile, wealthier groups can relocate temporarily, buy insurance, or install backup systems like water tanks and generators. Climate inequality is also gendered and unequal across regions. Women often manage water and household needs, so shortages increase their unpaid workload. Coastal communities face sea level rise, while mountain regions deal with landslides and glacier-related risks. Importantly, these are not only environmental issues, they are questions of public health, livelihoods, and dignity. Addressing the gap requires targeted policy. Heat action plans that reach informal workers, affordable cooling and shaded public spaces, early warning systems, and climate-resilient housing. It also needs fairness in finance, support for vulnerable districts, not just large headline projects. Climate justice in practice is about protecting those with the fewest buffers.
Languages and multilingualism in India. India is often described as a civilization of languages. The Constitution recognizes Hindi and English as official languages of the Union. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. The 8th schedule lists 22 scheduled languages, reflecting a deep diversity where many states were organized based on linguistic lines, such as Tamil in Tamil Nadu or Bengali in West Bengal. In India, multilingualism is not an exception. It is the daily norm. A typical citizen might speak a mother tongue at home, use Hindi or a regional language in the marketplace, and rely on English for higher education and corporate work. This constant shifting between languages is known as code switching, a phenomenon common in urban life where people mix multiple languages in a single conversation. English plays a unique role as a link language, connecting people across different states and serving as a gateway to global commerce and technology. While debates about language policy remain politically sensitive, India's landscape demonstrates an ongoing negotiation to balance national unity with regional pride. Ultimately, this linguistic flexibility is a strategic advantage for India in a globalized world.
Faith, diversity, and secularism in India. In India, religion is not just a private belief, it is woven into the daily rhythm of life. You can see it in home shrines, major festivals like Diwali and Eid, and daily greetings such as Namaste or Salam. While Hinduism is the majority faith, India is a deeply pluralistic society. It is home to one of the world's largest Muslim populations, as well as significant Christian, Sikh, Buddhist, and Jain communities. What holds this diversity together is the Indian concept of secularism. Unlike the Western model of strict separation between church and state, Indian secularism means principled neutrality. This means the state respects all religions equally and protects the right of every citizen to practice any faith freely. While religious identity can sometimes lead to inter-religious tensions, the ideal of coexistence remains a source of national pride. For most Indians, managing this diversity is a daily balancing act. It requires constant negotiation to ensure that personal faith and democratic governance work together to maintain social harmony in a highly connected society.
Family and marriage, continuity and change. In India, family is often described as close-knit, serving as the backbone of social life. Traditionally, many lived in joint families where multiple generations shared one roof. While urban migration has led to more nuclear families, the influence of elders remains strong. Major life decisions, especially regarding education and career, are frequently discussed with seniors, reflecting a deep social expectation of respect. Marriage in India is rarely just a private relationship. It is a social institution tied to family reputation and community networks. While arranged marriages remain common, the process is evolving. In urban areas, young adults now expect to meet and decide for themselves while still seeking family consent. Increasingly, couples prioritize compatibility and shared goals over caste or locality. Furthermore, gender roles are being renegotiated. Dual-income households are becoming the norm in cities, and younger men are participating more in childcare. Despite these shifts, social pressure regarding traditions like weddings remains significant. Ultimately, Indian family life is defined by continuity and change, remaining rooted in tradition while adapting to modern values of equality and individual well-being.
Youth culture and Generation Z in India. Today's youth culture in India, especially among Generation Z, is shaped by a fast mix of tradition and constant connectivity. For this generation, the internet is not just a tool, but an environment where their identities and friendships are formed. With affordable data, social media has become a daily habit, influencing everything from fashion to online activism. Despite this digital shift, many young Indians still live with their families well into their 20s. Consequently, their independence is often negotiated rather than absolute. While they are pragmatic and highly career-conscious, facing intense pressure from competitive exams, they are also building new identities through creator culture, gaming, and regional cinema. A distinctive Hinglish style has emerged, naturally blending English with local languages in daily conversation. Furthermore, Indian Gen Z is increasingly expressive about socially aware topics like mental health, gender equality, and sustainability. They balance global aspirations with strong family expectations, navigating the complex transition between inherited norms and emerging values. As a powerful demographic force, they are redefining the Indian dream through entrepreneurship and a desire for personal mobility.
Mental health awareness, breaking the stigma. In modern India, awareness of mental health is growing, especially among young people living in cities. For a long time, mental health problems such as depression, anxiety, and stress were not openly discussed. Many people believed that talking about emotional difficulties was a sign of weakness, so those who suffered often stayed silent. However, social change, education, and the influence of the internet have started to break this stigma. Students and young professionals now speak more openly about pressure from exams, work, and family expectations. In a highly competitive society, the stress to succeed can be very strong, and people are beginning to recognize that mental health is as important as physical health. Universities, companies, and online platforms are also taking action. Counseling services, mental health hotlines, and awareness campaigns are becoming more common. Social media has played an important role by allowing people to share their experiences and support each other. Although challenges remain, the conversation about mental health is slowly changing attitudes. The new generation is helping create a culture where asking for help is accepted and emotional well-being is taken seriously. This shift shows how modern society is learning that true progress includes not only economic success but also mental and emotional health.
Senior citizens in a changing society. India is experiencing social change as the number of senior citizens continues to grow. In the past, the traditional joint family system provided support for older people. Several generations lived together, and elderly parents were usually cared for by their children at home. This system gave senior citizens emotional support as well as daily care. However, modern life is changing this situation. Many young people move to large cities for education and work, leaving their parents in smaller towns or villages. As a result, some elderly people now live alone or with only their spouse. This has created a need for new types of care services for senior citizens. In recent years, retirement homes, assisted living facilities, and home care services have become more common. Private companies and non-profit organizations are developing programs to help older people live safely and comfortably. Medical care, daily assistance, and social activities are important parts of these services. Technology is also helping. Mobile phones, health apps, and online consultations make it easier for elderly people to stay connected with family and doctors. The changing role of senior citizens shows how Indian society is moving from traditional family support to modern care systems. Finding a balance between respect for tradition and the needs of modern life is one of the challenges of today's India.
Women in Indian society. Women in Indian society occupy a complex and evolving position shaped by tradition, law, economic change, and social reform. Historically, women have played central roles within the family structure, often as primary caregivers and custodians of cultural values. At the same time, social hierarchies, including caste and patriarchal norms, have limited access to education, property, and public leadership for many women. Since independence, constitutional guarantees of equality and a series of legislative measures have aimed to improve women's status. Laws addressing dowry, domestic violence, workplace harassment, and maternity benefits reflect an institutional commitment to gender justice. In recent decades, female literacy rates have risen significantly and women have entered higher education, civil services, entrepreneurship, and the corporate sector in increasing numbers. However, progress remains uneven. Labor force participation among women is still relatively low compared to global averages, and unpaid care work continues to be disproportionately borne by women. In rural areas, access to healthcare, sanitation, and digital connectivity can further restrict opportunities. At the same time, urban India has witnessed a visible shift in aspirations, with more women asserting professional ambition and personal autonomy. Grassroots movements, self-help groups, and digital activism have amplified women's voices in public discourse. From local governance under Panchayati Raj to leadership in technology and finance, women are reshaping India's social and economic landscape. Overall, the position of women in India reflects both enduring structural challenges and a dynamic trajectory of empowerment, negotiation, and transformation.
Changing gender roles. Changing gender roles in India reflect a gradual but visible transformation in social expectations, economic participation, and family dynamics. Traditionally, men were viewed as primary breadwinners, while women were expected to focus on household responsibilities and caregiving. These roles were reinforced by social customs, religious interpretations, and community norms. In recent decades, however, rapid urbanization, higher education, and digital connectivity have altered these patterns. More women are pursuing professional careers in fields such as law, medicine, information technology, and public administration. Dual-income households are becoming increasingly common in metropolitan areas, challenging the older assumption that domestic work is exclusively a woman's duty. At the same time, there is a growing conversation about shared parenting and work-life balance. Younger generations, particularly in urban India, are more open to egalitarian relationships in which responsibilities are negotiated rather than predetermined by gender. Social media and popular culture also influence perceptions, offering alternative role models and narratives of success. Yet, the transition remains uneven. In many rural and semi-urban regions, traditional expectations continue to shape daily life. Social pressure, safety concerns, and limited infrastructure can restrict women's mobility and employment opportunities. Moreover, unpaid domestic labor remains largely invisible in economic statistics. Overall, changing gender roles in India illustrate an ongoing negotiation between tradition and modernity. The shift is not merely economic but deeply cultural, reshaping identities, aspirations, and the meaning of equality within society.
Data privacy and surveillance. Data privacy has become a central issue in India's rapidly digitizing society. With the expansion of digital governance, online banking, e-commerce platforms, and social media usage, vast amounts of personal data are collected every day. Government initiatives such as Aadhaar and the Digital India program have improved service delivery and financial inclusion, but they have also raised concerns about surveillance and data protection. In recent years, India has enacted data protection legislation aimed at safeguarding citizens' personal information. The debate often revolves around the balance between national security, public order, and individual privacy. Supporters argue that surveillance mechanisms are necessary to prevent cybercrime, terrorism, and financial fraud. Critics, however, caution against excessive state monitoring and the potential misuse of data by both public authorities and private corporations. The Supreme Court of India has recognized the right to privacy as a fundamental right, reinforcing the constitutional commitment to civil liberties. At the same time, technological innovation continues to outpace regulatory frameworks. Facial recognition systems, biometric databases, and artificial intelligence tools are increasingly used in governance and law enforcement. The key challenge is to establish robust accountability mechanisms, transparent data practices, and independent oversight bodies. In a democracy as large and diverse as India, protecting data privacy while ensuring security remains an ongoing and complex task.
Data privacy and surveillance. Data privacy has become a central issue in India's rapidly digitizing society. With the expansion of digital governance, online banking, e-commerce platforms, and social media usage, vast amounts of personal data are collected every day. Government initiatives such as Aadhaar and the Digital India program have improved service delivery and financial inclusion, but they have also raised concerns about surveillance and data protection. In recent years, India has enacted data protection legislation aimed at safeguarding citizens' personal information. The debate often revolves around the balance between national security, public order, and individual privacy. Supporters argue that surveillance mechanisms are necessary to prevent cybercrime, terrorism, and financial fraud. Critics, however, caution against excessive state monitoring and the potential misuse of data by both public authorities and private corporations. The Supreme Court of India has recognized the right to privacy as a fundamental right, reinforcing the constitutional commitment to civil liberties. At the same time, technological innovation continues to outpace regulatory frameworks. Facial recognition systems, biometric databases, and artificial intelligence tools are increasingly used in governance and law enforcement. The key challenge is to establish robust accountability mechanisms, transparent data practices, and independent oversight bodies. In a democracy as large and diverse as India, protecting data privacy while ensuring security remains an ongoing and complex task.
Online misinformation. Online misinformation has emerged as a serious challenge in India's digital ecosystem. With hundreds of millions of internet users and widespread access to smartphones, information now spreads at unprecedented speed. Social media platforms, messaging applications, and video sharing services have become primary sources of news for many citizens. However, this rapid circulation of content also enables the spread of rumors, manipulated images, and fabricated narratives. In India's diverse and multilingual society, misinformation can have far-reaching consequences. False claims related to elections, public health, communal relations, or government policies may inflame tensions and undermine social harmony. During times of crisis, such as pandemics or natural disasters, misleading information can create panic and erode trust in public institutions. The government has introduced regulatory measures to address harmful content, while social media companies have implemented fact-checking partnerships and content moderation systems. At the same time, concerns remain regarding censorship and freedom of expression. Striking a balance between combating misinformation and protecting democratic debate is a complex task. Media literacy and critical thinking skills are increasingly emphasized in educational curricula and civil society initiatives. Empowering citizens to verify sources, question sensational claims, and distinguish opinion from fact is essential. In a vibrant democracy like India, safeguarding the integrity of information is crucial for maintaining informed public discourse and institutional credibility.
Indian food culture and the spirit of street food. Indian food culture is a rich tapestry shaped by geography, religion, and history. Across the nation, cuisine varies significantly. The north favors wheat-based rotis, while the south relies on rice as a staple. Spices are the soul of every meal, carefully blended to create complex layers of aroma rather than simple heat. These traditions are also guided by religious practices, where many follow vegetarian diets or observe specific fasting rituals. This culinary diversity is most visible in India's vibrant street food scene. In every city, roadside vendors set up stalls along busy roads, offering affordable and convenient meals during a hectic day. From Mumbai's iconic vada pav to Delhi's tangy chaat, these streets reflect local tastes and create unique social spaces where people gather and interact. Today, food in India balances ancient traditions with modern convenience. While digital delivery platforms are growing, street food and home-cooked regional recipes remain a symbol of community and resilience. Ultimately, Indian food is more than mere sustenance. It is a shared heritage and a form of hospitality that defines the daily rhythm of life.
Bollywood and film industry. Bollywood, based in Mumbai, is one of the largest film industries in the world in terms of output and audience reach. The name combines Bombay, the former name of Mumbai, and Hollywood. However, Indian cinema is far more diverse than just Bollywood. India produces films in many languages, including Tamil, Telugu, Bengali, and Malayalam, each with its own strong regional industry. Bollywood films are often known for the elaborate song and dance sequences, dramatic storytelling, and emotional intensity. Music plays a central role, and film soundtracks frequently become nationwide hits even before the movie is released. For many Indians, cinema is not only entertainment but also a shared cultural experience that brings families and communities together. The industry has evolved significantly over the decades. While earlier films focused on romance and family values, contemporary cinema increasingly addresses social issues such as gender equality, corruption, and urbanization. At the same time, big-budget blockbusters continue to attract mass audiences. With the rise of digital streaming platforms, Indian filmmakers now reach global viewers. Bollywood actors enjoy international recognition, and collaborations with foreign studios are growing. Today, the Indian film industry represents both cultural heritage and economic power, contributing substantially to employment, tourism, and soft power abroad.
Tourism and cultural heritage. In India, Tourism and cultural heritage are closely linked because travel often means stepping into living history. From UNESCO World Heritage Sites to small neighborhood shrines, heritage is not only preserved in museums, it is practiced in daily routines. A temple town may follow a ritual calendar, while a historic fort might still shape the identity of the surrounding community. Tourism brings clear benefits. It creates livelihoods for brides, artisans, drivers, and small businesses, and it can fund conservation work. Many state governments promote heritage circuits that connect monuments, crafts, cuisine, and local festivals into a shared visitor experience. For travelers, this offers a deeper sense of place than sightseeing alone. However, heritage tourism also raises difficult questions. Overcrowding can damage fragile sites, and commercialization may reduce traditions to a performance. Local residents sometimes face rising prices, restricted access, or pressure to beautify areas for outsiders. In response, there is growing emphasis on sustainable tourism, managing visitor numbers, supporting local ownership, and respecting cultural norms. At its best, tourism can build cultural confidence. It allows communities to tell their own stories, not just display them. The challenge is to protect heritage as a living resource so that future visitors and local people can continue to learn from it.
The Big Fat Indian Wedding. Tradition and Spectacle. Indian weddings are often described as big fat weddings because of their grand scale, long duration, and rich traditions. A typical wedding in India is not just a ceremony between two individuals, but a celebration that brings together families, relatives, friends, and sometimes entire communities. These events may last several days and include multiple rituals, music, dance, and large feasts. Marriage in India is traditionally seen as a union of families rather than only a personal choice. In many cases, parents and elders play an important role in arranging the match, although modern couples increasingly make their own decisions. Respect for customs, horoscope matching, and community approval may still influence the process, especially in rural areas. Wedding ceremonies differ across regions, religions, and languages, but they usually involve colorful clothing, traditional jewelry, and symbolic rituals. The bride often wears a richly decorated sari or lehenga, while the groom may arrive on a horse or in a decorated car as part of the wedding procession known as the Bharat. The celebration also reflects social status and hospitality. Families invite large numbers of guests and serve elaborate meals to show generosity and honor. In recent years, the wedding industry in India has grown into a major business, including event planners, designers, photographers, and luxury venues. Despite modernization, Indian weddings continue to emphasize family bonds, cultural continuity, and the importance of community in personal life.
Yoga and Ayurveda, ancient wisdom for modern wellness. Yoga and Ayurveda are two of India's most ancient traditions, and both continue to influence modern ideas about health and well-being. Originating thousands of years ago, these practices are based on the belief that physical health, mental balance, and spiritual harmony are closely connected. Today, they are not only part of India's cultural heritage, but also global movements in the field of wellness. Yoga began as a spiritual discipline described in ancient texts such as the Vedas and the Upanishads. Over time, it developed into a system of physical postures, breathing techniques, and meditation practices designed to improve both body and mind. In modern India, yoga is practiced in homes, schools, and public parks. An International Yoga Day is celebrated every year with large gatherings across the country. Ayurveda, often called India's traditional system of medicine, focuses on maintaining balance in the body through diet, herbal treatment, and daily routines. It emphasizes prevention rather than cure and considers each person's body type to be unique. Many people in India use both modern medicine and Ayurveda together. In recent years, the government and private organizations have promoted yoga and Ayurveda as part of India's cultural diplomacy and health tourism. these traditions show how ancient wisdom continues to guide modern lifestyles in India and beyond.
Cricket, India's unofficial religion. In India, cricket is often described as an unofficial religion because of the passion and unity it creates among people. Although India has many popular sports, cricket holds a special place in the hearts of millions. Matches are followed with intense excitement, and major tournaments can bring the entire country to a standstill. The popularity of cricket dates back to the colonial period when the British introduced the game to the subcontinent. Over time, Indians adopted the sport and made it their own. After independence, cricket became a symbol of national pride, especially when the Indian team achieved success in international competitions such as the Cricket World Cup. Today, cricket connects people across different languages, religions, and social classes. In a diverse country like India, this shared enthusiasm creates a sense of national identity. Streets become empty during important matches, while homes, tea stalls, and offices turn into places of collective viewing. The growth of professional leagues, especially the Indian Premier League, has also transformed cricket into a major industry. Players are celebrated like film stars, and young people dream of becoming professional cricketers. More than just a sport, cricket in India represents emotion, unity, and aspiration, showing how a game can become a powerful force in shaping a nation's culture.
Classical music and dance, a legacy of rhythms. Classical music and dance in India represent one of the oldest continuous artistic traditions in the world. These art forms have developed over thousands of years and are closely connected to religion, philosophy, and cultural identity. Unlike popular entertainment, classical performance is often seen as a form of discipline and spiritual practice, requiring years of training under the guidance of a guru. The traditional system of learning is known as the Guru-Shishya Parampara, in which the student lives with or regularly studies under the teacher. This relationship is based not only on technical instruction but also on respect, devotion, and personal guidance. Through this method, knowledge is passed down from generation to generation, preserving the purity of the art. Indian classical music has two major traditions, Hindustani in the north and Carnatic in the south. Both systems use ragas, which are melodic frameworks, and talas, which are rhythmic cycles. Performances often allow improvisation, but they must follow strict rules of structure and expression. Classical dance forms such as Bharatnatyam, Kathak, and Odissi combine movement, facial expression, and storytelling. Dancers use hand gestures known as mudras to convey emotions and narratives from mythology and epics. Today, classical arts continue to be supported by cultural institutions, festivals, and government academies. Although modern entertainment is widespread, these traditions remain an important symbol of India's artistic heritage and aesthetic philosophy.
Indian textiles, the art of handloom and weaving. India has one of the oldest textile traditions in the world, and handloom weaving remains an important part of the country's cultural and economic life. Different regions of India are known for their unique fabrics, patterns, and dyeing techniques, reflecting local history, climate, and community traditions. Even today, hand-woven textiles are widely used in daily clothing, religious ceremonies, and special occasions. Handloom production is often carried out in small workshops or family homes, where skills are passed down from one generation to another. Weavers use traditional wooden looms to produce cotton, silk, and wool fabrics with detailed designs. Famous varieties include Banarasi silk from Uttar Pradesh, Kanchipuram silk from Tamil Nadu, and Ikat textiles from Odisha and Telangana. Each style has its own identity and is closely connected to regional culture. The textile sector also plays an important role in India's rural economy. Millions of artisans depend on weaving, dyeing, and embroidery for their livelihood. The government and cooperative societies support handloom workers through training programs, subsidies, and marketing assistance. These efforts aim to protect traditional crafts while helping artisans compete in modern markets. At the same time, Indian textiles have gained international recognition for their quality and craftsmanship. Designers today combine traditional techniques with contemporary fashion, creating products for both domestic and global consumers. The tradition of handloom weaving represents not only artistic expression but also social heritage, showing how cultural skills continue to shape India's identity in the modern world.
Architecture from ancient temples to modern landmarks. Architecture in India reflects the long and diverse history of the subcontinent. From ancient stone temples to modern skyscrapers, Indian architecture shows the influence of religion, empire, climate, and technological change. Each period of history has left its mark on the built environment, creating a unique blend of traditional and contemporary styles. Ancient temple architecture is one of the most remarkable features of India's cultural heritage. Temples built in stone, such as those in Tamil Nadu, Odisha, and Karnataka, demonstrate advanced engineering and artistic craftsmanship. These structures were not only places of worship but also centers of social and economic activity. The layout of temple complexes often followed precise geometric principles based on traditional texts known as the Shastras. During the Mughal period, architecture developed new forms that combined Persian, Central Asian, and Indian elements. Famous monuments such as the Taj Mahal and Red Fort illustrate the use of symmetry, domes, arches, and decorative marble work. These buildings symbolized imperial power as well as artistic achievement. In modern India, architecture reflects rapid urbanization and economic growth. Cities like Mumbai, Delhi, and Bengaluru now have high-rise buildings, metro systems, and large infrastructure projects. Contemporary architects try to balance modern design with traditional concepts, including climate-sensitive construction and the use of local materials. Today, Indian architecture represents continuity and change at the same time, showing how the country preserves its heritage while adapting to the needs of a developing nation.
Hospitality and service, the Atithi Devo Bhava ethos. Hospitality has long been an important cultural value in Indian society. One of the most well-known expressions of this tradition is the Sanskrit phrase Atithi Devo Bhava, which means the guest is equivalent to God. This idea reflects the belief that visitors should be treated with great respect, warmth, and generosity. In many Indian households, welcoming guests with food, tea, and conversation is not simply a social custom but a moral responsibility. The spirit of Atithi Devo Bhava is deeply connected to India's cultural and religious traditions. Ancient scriptures and epics often emphasize the virtue of hospitality and kindness towards strangers. Even today, during festivals, weddings, and family gatherings, hosts make special efforts to ensure that guests feel comfortable and honored. In modern times, this cultural ethos has also influenced India's tourism and service industries. The Government of India has used the phrase Atithi Devo Bhava as part of national tourism campaigns to promote the country as a welcoming destination for international travelers. Training programs have been introduced for hotel staff, tour guides, and transportation workers to improve customer service standards. At the same time, the concept reflects broader social values such as respect, community, and generosity. In both rural villages and large cities, hospitality continues to play an important role in daily life. As India expands its tourism sector and global connections, the traditional ethos of welcoming guests remains an important symbol of the country's cultural identity.
Globalization and Indian society. Globalization has transformed Indian society in visible and invisible ways. Since the economic reforms of the 1990s, India has become more integrated into the global economy through trade, foreign investment, and technology. International companies operate in major cities, and Indian firms compete in global markets. As a result, middle-class lifestyles have expanded and consumer choices have multiplied. At the same time, globalization is not only about economics, it also affects culture, education, and social values. Young Indians often grow up consuming global media, studying abroad, and working in multinational corporations. English has strengthened its position as a linked language in business and higher education. Yet regional languages and local traditions continue to play a strong role in family life and community identity. However, globalization has also widened inequalities. While urban professionals may benefit from global opportunities, many rural communities face limited access to infrastructure, quality education, and stable employment. This uneven development has created debates about inclusive growth and social justice. Indian society today reflects both continuity and change. Traditional festivals, joint families, and community networks coexist with digital platforms, startup culture, and global mobility. Globalization has not erased Indian identity, rather, it has reshaped it. The challenge for policymakers and citizens alike is to ensure that economic integration goes hand in hand with cultural confidence and social equity.
Education for the future. Education for the future in India is increasingly viewed as a strategic national priority. In a rapidly changing global economy driven by technology and innovation, the traditional focus on rote learning is gradually giving way to skills-based and interdisciplinary education. Policymakers emphasize critical thinking, problem-solving, and digital literacy as essential competencies for the 21st century. The National Education Policy 2020 reflects this shift. It proposes flexible curricula, vocational training, and greater autonomy for higher education institutions. The aim is not only to increase enrollment but also to improve learning outcomes and employability. There is a strong push to integrate technology into classrooms through online platforms, digital content, and blended learning models. At the same time, challenges remain. Access to quality education varies widely between urban and rural areas. Public schools often struggle with inadequate infrastructure and teacher shortages. Ensuring equity, especially for marginalized communities, remains central to the reform agenda. Education for the future in India is therefore not merely about modernization. It is about balancing tradition with innovation and expansion with quality. If successfully implemented, these reforms could equip India's young population with the skills required for a knowledge-based economy while strengthening democratic values and social mobility.
Youth and democracy. In India, youth and democracy are closely connected because a large share of the population is young. For many first-time voters, elections are not only about choosing a party, but also about expressing identity, hope, and frustration. Young people are increasingly visible in political debates, both on campuses and on social media, where they discuss jobs, education, inflation, and public safety. At the same time, youth participation is not limited to voting. Many join local campaigns, volunteer for causes, or support community work through student groups and NGOs. Digital tools make it easier to mobilize quickly, raise funds, and spread messages. However, the same online space can also amplify misinformation, polarization, and harassment, which can discourage open discussion. A key question is whether India's democratic institutions can respond to youth expectations. When young citizens feel heard through transparent governance, fair opportunities, and accountable public services, they are more likely to trust the system. But when they face unemployment, corruption, or unequal access, cynicism can grow. Ultimately, youth can strengthen democracy not only by demanding change, but also by practicing democratic values in daily life, listening, debating respectfully, and participating beyond election season.
Social innovation. In India, social innovation often emerges where everyday needs meet limited resources. Instead of waiting for a perfect solution, many communities try practical ideas that can scale. You can see this in low-cost health services, affordable education models, and financial inclusion through digital payments. The aim is not only to do good, but to create systems that keep working after a pilot project ends. A major driver is the startup ecosystem, especially in cities like Bengaluru, Hyderabad, and Delhi NCR, where entrepreneurs combine technology with social impact. At the same time, some of the most effective innovations are not high-tech at all. They are local. Self-help groups that support women's livelihoods, cooperatives that improve farmers' bargaining power, or community kitchens that reduce hunger. Government programs also play a role. When public policy supports innovation through procurement, open data, or partnerships, new solutions can reach rural areas and smaller towns. Still, challenges remain. Digital divides, uneven quality, and the risk that solutions benefit only those who are already connected. Ultimately, social innovation in India is about dignity and access. It asks a simple question: how can progress be shared more fairly so that development is not only fast but also inclusive?
Grassroots movements. In India, grassroots movements are often driven by ordinary citizens who organize around local problems: water supply, land rights, wages, or public safety. What makes them powerful is not money or media coverage, but persistence and community trust. Many begin with small meetings in a village, a neighborhood committee, or a student group, and then grow through word of mouth and social media. A common feature is collective action. People sign petitions, hold peaceful demonstrations, or use public hearings to demand answers. In some cases, activists work with lawyers and journalists to make issues visible, while in others, they rely on traditional networks like unions, farmers' associations, or women's self-help groups. Grassroots movements also shape democracy beyond elections. They remind officials that accountability is not only a slogan, it is a daily practice. At the same time, these movements face pressure, legal restrictions, misinformation, and sometimes fear of retaliation. Sustaining momentum is difficult, especially when people must balance activism with work and family responsibilities. Still, grassroots movements continue because they speak to dignity and fairness. They show how change can start from the ground up when citizens believe that their voice matters and that public institutions must respond.
Resilience and adaptation. In India, resilience and adaptation are not abstract ideas. They are part of daily life. From farmers facing unpredictable monsoons to urban families coping with heat waves and flooding, people constantly adjust to changing conditions. Resilience means the ability to recover after a shock, whether it is a cyclone, a pandemic, or an economic downturn. Adaptation, on the other hand, involves preparing for future risks and reducing vulnerability over time. In rural areas, adaptation may include switching to drought-resistant crops, investing in drip irrigation, or diversifying income through small enterprises. In cities, municipal authorities promote early warning systems, climate-resilient infrastructure, and improved waste management to prevent waterlogging. Civil society organizations also play a key role by training communities in disaster preparedness and sustainable practices. At the policy level, the government integrates resilience into development planning through initiatives on renewable energy, digital governance, and social protection schemes. However, challenges remain. Limited resources, rapid urbanization, and inequality make adaptation uneven across regions. Despite these obstacles, resilience is deeply rooted in community networks and informal support systems. Families, neighborhood groups, and local institutions often respond quickly in times of crisis. In this sense, resilience in India is both structural and social. It reflects not only policy measures but also collective strength and cultural continuity.
India in Asia. India occupies a distinctive position in Asia, both geographically and strategically. Located at the crossroads of South Asia and the Indian Ocean, it connects East Asia, the Middle East, and Africa through major sea lanes. This geostrategic location has historically shaped India's trade networks, cultural exchanges, and diplomatic priorities. As one of Asia's largest economies and its most populous democracy, India plays a significant role in regional forums, such as ASEAN-related platforms, the Quad, and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Its foreign policy emphasizes strategic autonomy, seeking balanced relations with major powers, including the United States, China, and Russia. At the same time, India maintains deep historical and civilizational ties with neighboring countries such as Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Bhutan. Economically, India is increasingly integrated into Asian supply chains, particularly in pharmaceuticals, information technology services, and digital infrastructure. However, regional challenges remain. Border tensions with China, security concerns in the Indo-Pacific, and economic competition within Asia require careful diplomatic engagement. India's Act East policy underscores its intention to strengthen connectivity, trade, and cultural cooperation with Southeast Asia. In a rapidly changing Asia, India aspires to be not only a regional power but also a responsible stakeholder in shaping a stable and multipolar order. Its trajectory in Asia will significantly influence the continent's political and economic future.
India in the global economy. India's place in the global economy has expanded noticeably over the last 2 decades. It is now seen not only as a vast consumer market but also as a major provider of services, especially in information technology, business process outsourcing, and digital payments. Indian firms support global companies through software development, back-office operations, and increasingly high-value work such as data analytics and research support. At the same time, India remains a manufacturing and trade work in progress. The government has promoted initiatives like Make in India and production-linked incentives to attract investment, strengthen domestic supply chains, and reduce import dependence in strategic sectors. India's global trade profile reflects both opportunity and constraint. It exports pharmaceuticals, refined petroleum, engineering goods and IT services while importing large amounts of crude oil, electronics and industrial inputs. In global negotiations, India often pushes for policy space, especially on agriculture, public health and climate finance, arguing that developing economies need flexibility to grow. India also plays a prominent role in the G20 and other multilateral platforms where it presents itself as a voice for the global South. Looking ahead, India's competitiveness will depend on improving logistics, building skills at scale, and creating stable, predictable regulations. If these reforms deepen, India could become an even more central node in global production networks and a key shaper of economic rules in a multipolar world.
Migration and global citizenship. Migration has become a defining feature of India's global presence. Every year, millions of Indians move within the country for work, and many others migrate abroad as students, professionals, or workers in the Gulf, North America, Europe, and Southeast Asia. This mobility shapes families, cities, and even national policy. Remittances sent home support household budgets, education, and small businesses, and they also link local communities to global labor markets. At the same time, migration raises difficult questions about rights and belonging. Indian migrants may enjoy new opportunities, but they can also face visa uncertainty, discrimination, or insecure jobs. Within India, internal migrants often struggle with access to public services because benefits are tied to place of residence. During crises such as economic shocks or public health emergencies, these vulnerabilities can become visible overnight. This is where the idea of global citizenship enters the discussion. Global citizenship does not erase national identity. Rather, it encourages people to think beyond borders, about shared responsibilities, human rights, climate action, and fair treatment of migrants. For India, building a humane and efficient migration system means improving portability of welfare, protecting workers through clear contracts and legal aid, and engaging with international norms while defending national interests. Ultimately, how India manages migration will influence not only economic growth but also social cohesion and its credibility as a global leader.
India in the 21st century. Challenges and visions.
India in the 21st century is defined by rapid transformation and deep contrasts. While the country has emerged as a global leader in technology and services, it faces a complex set of challenges that will shape its long-term trajectory. The primary hurdle is balancing fast development with social equity. Ensuring inclusive growth where opportunities reach rural populations and informal workers remains a central objective. Another pressing issue is employment generation. With a large youthful population entering the labor market, India must create sufficient quality jobs to convert its demographic dividend into social stability. This requires shifting toward a knowledge economy driven by innovation, digital infrastructure, and skilled human capital. Visions for the future are also shaped by environmental sustainability. Balancing industrial growth with climate commitments is no longer optional. Ultimately, India's success will depend not only on economic indicators but on social cohesion and institutional trust. The country's future is not predetermined. It will be shaped by the collective responsibility of its citizens to ensure that progress leads to dignity and security for all.
Social media and information literacy. In contemporary India, social media has become one of the most influential sources of information in daily life. Platforms such as WhatsApp, YouTube, Instagram, and regional language apps are widely used not only for communication but also for news, political discussion, and community interaction. With affordable smartphones and low-cost data plans, even people in rural areas now participate actively in the digital public sphere. However, the rapid spread of online communication has also created serious challenges related to information literacy. Messages forwarded on social media are often accepted as true without verification. In some cases, misinformation and rumors have led to public panic, communal tension, or even violence. Because India is a multilingual and socially diverse society, false information can spread quickly across different regions and communities. To address this issue, the government, educational institutions, and civil society organizations have started campaigns to promote digital awareness and responsible online behavior. Schools increasingly include media literacy in their curriculum, encouraging students to check sources and think critically before sharing content. Technology companies are also under pressure to improve fact-checking systems and prevent the misuse of messaging platforms. At the same time, policymakers must balance regulation with freedom of expression, which is protected under the Constitution. In the digital age, information literacy is becoming as important as basic education, because a healthy democracy depends on informed and responsible citizens.
Voices of the youth. In India, the voices of the youth are increasingly shaping public discourse and policy priorities. With more than half of the population under the age of 30, young Indians represent not only a demographic dividend but also a dynamic force in social and political life. Today's youth are highly connected through digital platforms, where they debate issues ranging from employment and education to climate change and gender equality. Social media has become a space for civic engagement, allowing young citizens to mobilize support, express dissent, and hold institutions accountable. Student movements on university campuses often reflect broader societal concerns and signal emerging trends in public opinion. At the same time, young people face significant challenges. Youth unemployment, rising competition for limited opportunities, and economic uncertainty create frustration. Many aspire to upward mobility through entrepreneurship, civil services, or the technology sector. Government initiatives focused on skill development and startup ecosystems aim to harness this potential. Culturally, the younger generation is negotiating between tradition and modernity. While family values and community ties remain important, individual aspirations and global exposure are reshaping attitudes toward career, marriage, and identity. This balance is not always smooth, but it generates important conversations about inclusion and reform. Ultimately, the voices of the youth are not uniform. They reflect India's diversity across region, class, language, and ideology. Yet their collective engagement signals a society in transition where the next generation seeks both opportunity and accountability in shaping the nation's future.
Paths toward reform. As India reflects on its developmental journey, discussions about reform increasingly focus on institutional strengthening and inclusive transformation. Reform is not merely about policy change. It involves rethinking governance structures, improving administrative efficiency, and enhancing public accountability. One important pathway is institutional reform. Strengthening regulatory bodies, modernizing bureaucratic procedures, and reducing red tape can improve ease of doing business and public service delivery. Digital governance platforms such as direct benefit transfers and online grievance systems have already demonstrated how technology can increase transparency and reduce leakages. Economic reform remains central. Expanding manufacturing under initiatives like Make in India, investing in infrastructure, and promoting small and medium enterprises can generate employment and boost competitiveness. At the same time, social sector reforms, particularly in education, healthcare, and nutrition, are necessary to build human capital. Judicial reform is another area of concern. Reducing case backlogs and ensuring timely justice would strengthen rule of law and investor confidence. Electoral and political reforms aimed at greater transparency in campaign financing can further enhance democratic credibility. Finally, reform requires citizen participation. Civil society, youth movements, and local governance institutions play a vital role in shaping accountable leadership. In a plural and diverse society, reform must balance growth with equity, efficiency with compassion, and innovation with social responsibility. The path toward reform is gradual and often contested, but sustained dialogue and institutional resilience can help India navigate change while preserving democratic values.
India's role in the world. In the 21st century, India has emerged as an influential actor on the global stage. With its large population, expanding economy, and strategic location in the Indo-Pacific, India plays a key role in regional and international affairs. It is a founding member of the Non-Aligned Movement and today participates actively in multilateral forums such as the United Nations, the G20, BRICS, and the Quad. India's foreign policy emphasizes strategic autonomy. Rather than aligning fully with any single power bloc, it seeks to maintain balanced relations with major countries, including the United States, Russia, and members of the European Union. At the same time, India strengthens ties with neighboring countries through regional cooperation initiatives and development partnerships. Economically, India contributes to global supply chains, information technology services, and pharmaceutical production. It is often described as the pharmacy of the world because of its large-scale manufacture of affordable medicines. In climate negotiations, India advocates for climate justice, arguing that developing nations require financial and technological support to transition to sustainable energy systems. India also engages in peacekeeping missions and humanitarian assistance during natural disasters. As it aspires to a permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council, India presents itself as a voice for the Global South. Overall, India's role in the world reflects both ambition and responsibility in a rapidly changing international order.
Indian literature, from ancient epics to modern novels. Indian literature has a long and rich history that goes back thousands of years. Some of the oldest and most famous works are the ancient epics, such as the Mahabharata and the Ramayana. These stories are not only important as literature, but also as religious and cultural texts that have influenced Indian society for centuries. They teach ideas about duty, family, justice, and the meaning of life. In addition to Sanskrit literature, India has strong traditions in many regional languages, including Tamil, Hindi, Bengali, and others. Poetry, drama, and religious writings developed in different parts of the country, reflecting the diversity of Indian culture. During the colonial period, English became an important language for education and writing. In the modern era, many Indian authors began writing novels and essays in English, reaching readers around the world. Writers such as Rabindranath Tagore, R.K. Narayan, and Arundhati Roy helped bring Indian stories to an international audience. Modern Indian literature often deals with social change, identity, politics, and the experience of living between tradition and modern life. Through both ancient epics and modern novels, Indian literature continues to show the complexity and diversity of the country. It remains one of the most important ways to understand India's history, values, and society.
Business etiquette in India. Understanding business etiquette in India is important for anyone who wants to work or cooperate with Indian companies. Professional culture in India is influenced by tradition, hierarchy, and personal relationships. Respect for seniority and position is very important, and decisions are often made by managers or leaders rather than by the whole team. Greetings usually begin with a handshake, especially in cities and international companies, but in some situations, people may use the traditional greeting, Namaste, with folded hands. It is polite to address people by their title and last name, unless they ask you to use their first name. Building trust is an important part of doing business in India. Meetings may start with small talk about family, health, or daily life before discussing work. This helps create a friendly relationship which is considered necessary for long-term cooperation. Time is treated more flexibly than in some Western countries, and meetings may start later than planned. However, professionalism and preparation are still expected, especially in large companies. Understanding these cultural differences helps avoid misunderstandings and makes business communication smoother. In India, successful business often depends not only on contracts but also on respect, patience, and strong personal connections.
Communication styles in India. Communication styles in India can be different from those in many Western countries. In Indian culture, politeness and respect are often more important than speaking directly. Because of this, people sometimes avoid saying no clearly, especially when talking to someone older or in a higher position. Instead of direct refusal, people may use indirect expressions such as "we will try," "let us see," or "maybe later." These phrases do not always mean agreement. They are often used to keep the conversation polite and to avoid hurting someone's feelings. Understanding this indirect style is important in business and daily life. Context also plays a big role in communication. Tone of voice, facial expressions, and the relationship between speakers can change the meaning of words. In many situations, people expect listeners to understand the situation without everything being explained in detail. At the same time, communication styles in India are changing, especially in large cities and international companies. Younger professionals may speak more directly, particularly when using English in the workplace. Learning to read both direct and indirect messages helps build better relationships. In India, successful communication often depends on patience, careful listening, and awareness of social context.
Building trust in India. Relationships before business. In India, building trust is often more important than discussing business immediately. Personal relationships play a central role in professional life, and many people prefer to work with someone they know and trust. Because of this, meetings may begin with friendly conversation before talking about contracts or projects. It is common to talk about family, health, travel, or daily life at the beginning of a meeting. This is not a waste of time. It is a way to create a comfortable atmosphere and to show respect. When people feel relaxed, they are more willing to cooperate and share honest opinions. Trust is usually built slowly. Instead of making quick decisions, people may prefer several meetings before reaching an agreement. Patience is important, especially for foreigners who are used to faster business communication. Keeping promises and maintaining regular contact also help build strong relationships. In India, reliability and loyalty are highly valued, and long-term cooperation is often preferred over short-term profit. Understanding this relationship-focused style makes business communication smoother. In India, success often depends not only on price or quality, but also on trust, respect, and personal connection.
Hierarchy and respect, how status matters in Indian society. Hierarchy and respect play an important role in Indian society. Age, position, education, and social status often influence how people speak to each other and how decisions are made. In many situations, showing respect to elders and senior members is considered a basic rule of good behavior. In the workplace, employees usually show respect to managers and leaders, and important decisions are often made by those in higher positions. It may be uncommon for junior staff to openly disagree with their boss during a meeting. Instead, they may express their opinions in a more careful and polite way. Respect for hierarchy also appears in family life. Parents and grandparents usually have strong authority, and younger family members are expected to listen to their advice. Using polite language and respectful gestures is a sign of good upbringing. However, modern society is slowly changing these traditions. In large cities, younger generations sometimes prefer more equal communication, especially in international companies and universities. Even so, respect for age and experience remains an important value. Understanding the role of hierarchy helps avoid misunderstandings. In India, showing respect does not mean weakness. It is a way to maintain harmony and good relationships in both social and professional life.
Time, deadlines, and flexibility in Indian work culture. Time management in Indian work culture can be different from that in many Western countries. While deadlines and schedules are important, flexibility is also common, especially in situations that require coordination with many people. Because relationships and communication are highly valued, meetings and decisions may take longer than expected. In some workplaces, starting times are treated more flexibly and meetings may begin later than planned. This does not always mean a lack of professionalism. Instead, it may reflect the need to handle unexpected situations, traffic problems, or other responsibilities at the same time. Deadlines are usually taken seriously, especially in large companies, international projects, and the technology industry. However, it is common to discuss changes to a schedule if problems occur. Open communication about delays is often better than silently missing a deadline. Understanding this balance between deadlines and flexibility is important for successful cooperation. People who expect very strict time management may feel frustrated at first, while others may find the flexible style more comfortable. In Indian work culture, patience, communication, and adaptability are key skills. Managing time well does not only mean being fast, but also being able to work smoothly with different people and situations.
Religion in daily life. What foreigners should know. Religion plays a very important role in daily life in India. Many people follow religions such as Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, Sikhism, Buddhism, and Jainism. Because of this diversity, customs and daily habits can be influenced by religious beliefs in ways that foreigners may not expect. For example, food rules are often connected to religion. Some Hindus do not eat beef, Muslims do not eat pork, and many people avoid meat on certain religious days. When visiting someone's home or attending an event, it is polite to ask about food preferences in advance. Religious festivals are also a major part of life. Holidays such as Diwali, Eid, Christmas, and Holi are celebrated widely, and offices or schools may close during these times. These events are not only religious, but also social occasions where families and communities gather together. Religion can also influence daily routines, clothing, and greetings. Some people pray several times a day, wear traditional dress, or follow special customs when entering temples or homes. Showing respect for these practices is very important. For foreigners, the most important rule is to be respectful and open-minded. India is a multicultural society, and understanding religious differences helps avoid misunderstandings and builds better relationships.
Dining etiquette in India. Food, hospitality, and manners. Dining etiquette in India is closely connected to hospitality and respect. Guests are often treated with great care, and offering food is an important way to show kindness. When visiting someone's home, it is common for the host to serve more food than necessary, because giving plenty of food is considered a sign of generosity. In many parts of India, people eat with their right hand instead of using a fork and knife. The left hand is traditionally considered less clean, so it is polite to use only the right hand when eating or giving something to another person. In restaurants, Western-style utensils are usually available, but using the right hand is still common in traditional settings. Food rules may also depend on religion and region. Some people are vegetarian, some avoid beef or pork, and others may not eat certain foods on religious days. It is polite to ask about dietary rules before eating together. When eating with others, it is good manners to wait until everyone is served before starting. Guests are often encouraged to eat more, and refusing food directly may seem impolite. Instead, people may refuse gently and thank the host. Understanding these customs helps foreigners feel more comfortable. In India, meals are not only about food, but also about friendship, respect, and hospitality.
Festivals and social customs. Joining Indian celebrations. Festivals are an important part of social life in India, and they are often celebrated with family, friends, and the local community. These events are not only religious but also cultural occasions where people visit each other, share food, and exchange gifts. For foreigners, joining these celebrations can be a great way to understand Indian society. Some of the most famous festivals include Diwali, the festival of lights, Holi, the festival of colors, and Eid, which is celebrated by Muslims. During these festivals, homes are decorated, special food is prepared, and people wear traditional clothes. Guests are usually welcome, and being invited to a festival is considered a sign of friendship. When joining a celebration, it is polite to follow local customs. For example, removing shoes before entering a home, greeting elders respectfully, and accepting food when it is offered are all common manners. Bringing a small gift, such as sweets or fruit, is also appreciated. Festivals may be lively and crowded, and plans can change quickly. Being patient and flexible helps visitors enjoy the experience more. People may invite you to join activities even if you have just met them, because hospitality is highly valued. Understanding these social customs makes communication easier. In India, festivals are not only holidays but also important moments for building relationships and sharing happiness.
Working with Indian teams, diversity, debate, and cooperation. Working with Indian teams can be a unique experience because of the country's great diversity. India has many languages, religions, and cultural backgrounds, and these differences are often reflected in the workplace. Team members may have different ways of thinking, communicating, and solving problems, which can make discussions lively and creative. Debate is common in many Indian workplaces, especially in fields such as technology, business, and education. People may express strong opinions and ask many questions during meetings. This is not meant to be disrespectful. Instead, it shows interest and involvement in the topic. Open discussion is often seen as a way to find better ideas. At the same time, respect for hierarchy still exists. Junior members may speak freely during discussion, but final decisions are often made by managers or senior leaders. Understanding this balance between open debate and respect for authority is important for smooth teamwork. Cooperation is usually built through communication and personal connection. Taking time to talk with colleagues, sharing meals, and showing interest in others' lives can help create trust inside the team. Once trust is built, teamwork often becomes very strong. For foreigners, flexibility and patience are key. When people from different cultures work together, misunderstandings may happen, but diversity can also lead to better results and new ideas.